Can you read this out? I can't see my glasses here.
A true grace
A true guru.
Guru. That's why I also need my glasses.
Oh, pass it on then.
A true guru is concerned not with changing the world or the or whatsoever
Or the behavior of the disciple.
Of the behavior of the disciple, but only with taking the disciple
To the source of the manifestation itself. Is that it? To the very source of the manifestation itself. A true guru is not concerned with changing the world or the behavior of the disciple. But only with taking the disciple to the source of manifestation itself. The guru knows that one's behavior is based on one's conditioning and one's genetics, one's nature, which God made. So, the guru is not concerned with changing an effect, which is someone's behavior. But is concerned only with taking the disciple to the source of manifestation itself. In other words, rising above the dualities of life, the polar opposites. Through understanding that everything in life has its opposite. Which we all know. Left and right, up and down, front and back, black and white, and primary polarities, pleasure and pain. And another primary polarity, good and evil. Because we are all guilty of labeling something as good in our lives and something as evil in our lives. But we lose sight of one point. On one hand, we say God is everything. There's no power apart from God. God is all powerful, all merciful, omnipresent, omnipotent, then can evil be apart from God? That means evil has another creator. If it is not God, who is it who has created evil? And then we say, but God cannot create evil. And we get stuck in this concept. The sage understands that good actions happen through some people and harmful actions happen through other people. Thereafter, the sage decides what he must do. But he has no problem with this understanding that all there is God. We lose sight of this. And because we lose sight of it, we lose our sense of objectivity. The sage, because he does not lose sight of this, witnesses actions happening, including his own. The ordinary person, because they are lost in the game of doership, blame and condemn people, which results in hatred and malice. The sage does not suffer from all these qualities. There's nobody to hate. If consciousness is all there ever is, ever was, and ever will be, whom will consciousness hate? So we live our lives hating people who have hurt us, who have harmed us, who have been mean to us. And only those who comfort us, love us, appreciate us, they are our favorites. Is that fair play? Let's be honest. That is why Joel Goldsmith would say, it's too easy to pray for your family and friends. Too easy. Try praying for the ones you don't like. Then you will know where you stand. Then you will know, have I risen above the pairs of opposites? Now, why is the sage concerned with taking the disciple back to the source of the manifestation itself? Because the manifestation is a reflection of the source. Nothing can be apart from the source. The source is all there is. The reflection is an appearance. And an appearance we judge. So what the sage knows is, there is no point trying to rectify the appearance, because it is an appearance. If you stand in front of a mirror, only then can you see your reflection. If you are standing 5 feet to the left of the mirror, you can't see it. So when you come in front of the mirror, you see the reflection. Without you, there's no reflection. So isn't it futile to rectify the reflection? How can it be? And when through the process of understanding, the sage pulls you out of this whole drama of life, which one got lost in, pulls you back to the source, where one develops an even vision, equanimity, sakshi bhav, witness consciousness, not judging events in my life, not judging people in my life, seeing that everyone I meet has come with their own destiny, with their own blueprint created by the same source. When I am pulled out of that and I rest in myself, in my being, not trying to avoid people, not trying to avoid circumstances, not running away from my problems, but facing whatever life brings. Because now I know this is the nature of life. This is how life is. Nobody has had a life of only pleasure. When I live my life like this, I'm free of all the psychological suffering, which perhaps I was not even aware of that I was suffering. When I realized my mind was full of thinking all the time, this one did that to me, that one said that to me, in my childhood this happened, this parent behaved like this with me, this sibling behaved like that with me. My friend said this. Yesterday I was so close to this friend, now I'm no more close. They have changed. And on and on and on and on. The psychological cartwheels going on in the thinking mind, which is getting nourished by all these stories of doership, they start slowing down. Disintegrating. And I find my mind is becoming more and more free, because the turmoil, the agitation of thinking is no longer happening like it used to. Because now I have realized there are only 3 kinds of relationships in my life. My relationship with the people I meet, which could be someone I've been born and brought up with, or the stranger on the road. Second, my relationship with the events which happen in my life, major and minor. And third, my relationship with myself. Am I comfortable with myself? Am I not comfortable with myself? life is about relationships. Me and the other. When I see the hand of God behind all these relationships, that God has made others precisely the way God thought best, has made me with all my flaws, all my strengths, the way God knows best. And God brings into my life pleasure and pain according to a law I don't know anything of. So when I see the hand of God behind these relationships in life, one big change happens. My relationships are no longer with people, but they are with God. That is what the true Guru has done, lifted the veil of separation. So that one can see the one behind the many. The Guru is not concerned with changing the world, because the world, which is the manifestation, is the reflection of the source. As within, so without. And when we find with any teacher, any teaching we have been following, that our mind is calming down, we are feeling more and more peaceful. Then we know that this is happening because the hold which the world had on me is now no longer that strong. The grip it had on me. So the true Guru makes one rest more and more in simply being. In being and not in becoming and not in being. No longer resting in the dead past, no longer projecting into the imaginary future all the time, what will happen to me? But simply being. And simply being means simply being available to whoever I meet today. Listening to them, seeing what they have to say, understanding that whatever they are saying is based on how they have been shaped since childhood. Could I judge it then? If I knew that a person is saying whatever they say based on how their parents brought up the child, based on the geographical location, based on the income group, based on the religion, on the basis of which this person is saying what they are saying, would I have a problem then? I accept this is your view. Now, I may share the same view, I may not. But it ends there. So I no longer have a problem with people. When I find I no longer have a problem with people, It means I no longer have a problem with God's creation. And I live my life in peace and equanimity and calm. It is really so simple. Can you come little in? If you can come little forward, then they can come. So, you see, the main thing is, are we lost and immersed in the story of our lives? And we find everything we do and say is geared towards our survival. This is my opinion. How dare you have an opinion contrary to mine? It's my survival. This is the way I feel. These are my feelings. Are they? Or are they based on factors which are not in your control? That is why I keep saying the Tibetans are absolutely right when they say all fears, no matter how small, no matter how big, are ultimately the fear of death. The death of what? The death of the ego with its sense of doership. This is me, this is mine. Then the ego says to people it knows well, you don't love me enough. What does that mean? You don't love me like you should love me. Because deep down, you are afraid that you will die. If I am not loved, I will die. And this ego, which makes so many demands upon the universe, does not realize that it is at peace when it is absent, which is everyone's experience of deep sleep. In deep sleep, I don't want anyone to love me or hate me. I don't exist. I am most at peace when I am absent. The problem is the waking state. In the Bible it is said, thou will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee. Thou will keep him in perfect peace, which means not a peace that comes and goes, whose mind is stayed on thee. This does not mean that I have to think about God all the time in order to be at peace. If there is no individual to blame in my life and to hate, and I see the hand of God behind it all, my mind is stayed on God. Isn't it? So I'm at peace. Does not mean I have to love everyone. I may have my preferences, the way God has designed me. But I find that when the polar opposite of hate is removed from the equation, I have an acceptance of everyone. And that acceptance of everyone, one could call transcendental love. Because it is transcending my personal likes and dislikes in that sense. So, either I live my life till my last breath, pointing fingers, accusing, blaming, and judging people, or through the grace of God, my vision turns and I see this whole play of life now through not these eyes of duality anymore, but the eye of singularity, the third eye, the eye of wisdom, the eye of knowledge, so that whatever comes before me, whoever comes before me, is now seen through the eye of one. That is how I start living my life. And the only measure is the peace I find, especially in the most challenging of situations. Then I know when everything is comfortable, it's too easy. When the boat is rocked, then I know how deep is my peace. I'll never forget once I used to go on Sundays to my spiritual teacher's satsangs. I was perhaps 30 years old, 31 years old. And there was a very wonderful man who was at that time 53. And after the satsang, he invited a few of us for the Sunday brunch at the Taj Hotel, Shamiana. So we were very pleased. And while we were having the lunch, he told me, he said, amongst all on this table, I am perhaps the one who can least afford to host the lunch because I've been through a very challenging financial time. So I said, why are you doing it then? He said 2 reasons. One is, God has taken away 90% of my wealth. What is another 2% going to matter? And 2, when I saw y'all, from my heart I felt like taking y'all for lunch. My mind was not operating. So I said, let's go for lunch. So here we are. And I was so moved. This total acceptance of the will of God in action. It was a very moving thing to see. So when we are put in challenging situations, and in those times, our actions reveal to ourselves how much at peace we are. And we invariably find that the less and less control we exercise on people and on events that happen in our lives, the more and more we are at peace. Imagine on a chessboard, there's black and white. The white thinking it can control the black pieces, and the black pieces thinking they can control the white, because both don't see they are moved by a higher power. And we are obsessed with control. Controlling people. The ego's most prized possession is control. Because the ego is not stupid. It knows I don't control my breathing. I can't control anyone else's breathing. I don't control my heart pumping. I can't control anyone else's heart. I can't control this earth spinning at a certain velocity, rotating around the sun at a specific speed. I can't control it. I can't control the weather. Nothing in nature can I control. Now let me see, what am I left with to control? I am going to control people. Either directly or in clandestine manners. And then the game begins. Those who want to leave early for the air show are welcome to. There's an air show happening. I have been to Varanasi's Manikarnika Ghat a few times now, which is a very deep lesson on death. I would recommend it to everyone. So on one of my trips, I was walking past the funeral pyres, and the guide said, "Acha, adrak wali chai loge ya ilaichi?" And I was taken aback at the complete normalcy of the environment as far as he was concerned, and asking me for my preference of chai. And then I was watching, I used to go there and see what all transpires there, how normal death is there. That you don't see people crying, sad. It's like, this is what has to be done today. We are here at the cremation grounds. So I kept this observation to myself, thinking it surely can't be like that. And then recently when I went, we got stuck on that cycle rickshaw, lot of crowds, and from my left, every 2 minutes bodies were being carried. So we were sitting on the rickshaw, which is at a height. So my line of vision was at the same height as the bodies, like just going one by one towards the cremation grounds. So I was watching the people going along with the procession like a normal day, like they were going to work. So again I asked the guide, I said, how is it that the people in Varanasi seem to be so totally accepting of death and cool with it? And he said, you're absolutely right. And the answer is very simple. One, it was never hidden from us in our childhood. It was there for us to see, like we saw everything else. And two, being born in Varanasi, we know since childhood that to die in Varanasi and to be cremated at Manikarnika is liberation, moksha. So in a way, perhaps unbeknown to us, we look forward to it. And I was really thinking, imagine if everyone's consciousness was like that. Wouldn't it be a game changer? So what the true guru is concerned with, as we said in the beginning, is the disciple dying to the false. Not having to wait till one actually dies. It is a tremendous, I don't even know what word to use. Can't even say a favor to the disciple, because guru and disciple are not two. It is a tremendous thing. Because the guru is really pulling out the disciple from the samsara. Of not recreating action-reaction loops and patterns and reincarnating into those action-reaction loops and patterns. Someone asked Rameshji once, I'm scared of death, what shall I do? And he said, very simple. Are you scared of deep sleep? No. So just start considering death as a very long deep sleep. No problem. And there is a very good pointer to know that the teaching has sunk in. I find I am becoming more and more quiet. Because the mind is becoming quieter. I'm not pushing my opinion like I used to earlier. I may express it once and leave it. Whether the person listens or not is God's will. Normally, we are telling the same person the same thing again and again and again. That need goes. So, silence is a good yardstick. Because if the heart is silent, the mind is silent. Then people tell you, hey, you've changed. You don't argue back like you used to. I feel more comfortable sharing things with you. Then you know. Otherwise, you can fool yourself. But when others start telling you these things, then you know there has been a change. It's so beautiful. Life is very short. Here today, gone tomorrow. Between that today and tomorrow, how much of it is going to be lost in the thinking mind? It's a tricky thing. Because if our mind is full of that stuff, it does not mean that with the death of the body, the mind has died. That churn of vasanas and sanskaras is going to keep rolling. I read a phrase which I really loved in a book. Shamam virasya bhushanam. Shamam virasya bhushanam. Forbearance is the ornament of a hero. Forbearance is the ornament of a hero. My teacher would call it living the life courageous. It takes courage to know that the hand of God is behind everyone. Because we all have those troublemakers in our lives. The people who push our buttons. We all have them. So it takes courage to know that they are not the doers of their actions. It's too easy to blame them. It takes courage to know that pleasant and unpleasant events in my life come from the same source. And forbearance, or what Sai Baba said, Shraddha and saburi, are the ornaments of a hero. Faith and patience. But we feel patience means eventually we will get what we want. We have to be patient. Kabhi na kabhi to milega, Sai Baba ne bola hai, to milega. He never said that. I don't think he said that you'll get exactly what you want. He may be sparing you of a lot of trouble. Patience is a quality which comes because the ego no longer has this incessant need to push, 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 push. Otherwise, it is a repressed patience. Impatience masquerading as patience. I am patiently going to wait till that happens. Is it possible? It's the first projection into the future. I have faith that that will happen. Is it? Then it's a conditional faith. Means you have faith only because you want a certain outcome. But if you really accepted your guru as God, you would have the faith that whatever he wills, it is what is meant to happen. You may like it, you may not. That is the true faith. So what kind of faith and what kind of patience are we talking about here? Would anyone like to share anything or ask anything? How was your son's wedding? All went smoothly or there were still problems?
Everything went so well. So I was just thinking that. the book, Don't Sweat the Small Things and Everything is Small. Was that the reason? Or wedding went so well, a lot of people raved about it and talked so high about it, so ego got satisfied, got its food, so stopped complaining about the couple, 2-3 things that did not go the way we wanted.
But did
Don't know.
the bridegroom's dress turn out well or didn't turn out?
No, it did not.
It didn't turn out.
No, it did not. But it was okay. It was okay. The best part was in that 1 month, crazily busy month, I came twice here to attend your satsang. I'm so glad I chose the right thing, that everything can wait. But if I will not come here and if I will not listen to you and be in this peaceful environment, it will not take me, or that was the kind of testing time in my life.
No, I get you. You see, I'll tell you, once it was pouring heavily, and I would go on Sundays to my teacher's satsangs. So I was so programmed to get ready and go that it was a downpour. So the mind said, what if you get stuck? What if this happens, that happens? But then I thought, what will I do at home? No plans now for Sunday morning because I've been going for so many Sundays. So I went simply because I didn't know what else to do. I went there. There were 4 of us only. Only 4 people made it to Gamadia Road, of which 3 were foreigners. Hats off to them. You know, ignorance is bliss. We think, how will we reach and all that, they reached. So when we were there, Rameshji came out and he saw only 4 of us. So he called us closer to him. And then he pointed out at the weather and he said, this is the test of a sincere seeker. And I kept quiet because I knew I came only because I had nothing else to do. I didn't go for the teaching or anything. You know? And Goldsmith, he was a mystic healer, an American mystic healer. He said that one knows somebody else's commitment to the truth based on how they make themselves available for it. And he gives the example of someone else who was very famous at the time, that if you called his office for an appointment and the appointment time given was 3 o'clock, it was your duty as the patient to ask AM or PM. Means you had to be ready to go at 3 AM or 3 PM. But what we do here is we make it fit into our busy schedule. That is how we negotiate with truth. As yet one more thing to do. It happened to me once. Someone from Delhi wanted to meet me one-on-one, which I rarely do now because, you see, satsang means everyone benefits from everyone's questions. And seeing that he was writing to me pretty often, I agreed, and he wanted to have a meal with me. And I agreed to that also. And then, same morning, he said, can we shift it to 4:30 PM because I have other things to do. So that is what it is. That commitment to truth. In your own life, forget going to a teacher, teaching, but to yourself. Are you committed to the truth? Or are you living a charade? Are you living an existence of smoke and mirrors and deception and deceit?
So, few years back, I mean, I've been following something or the other because still searching for the peace or whatever. So there was one yogi called Tavariyaji, Parsi yogi, and he had given one practice of blocking your right nostril between the time of 1 and 3 p.m. And right nostril would control the left brain. So your chattering would be calm. And so you are forced to use your right brain. And usually right brain is quite dormant. So that way you are activating your right brain. So I practiced that for maybe 2-3 years. And that was giving so much peace and so much, I mean, nothing was bothering me and all that. And then some sickness happened and I stopped doing that. And in 6 months, again, the things started coming. So I was looking for something, not just doing some practices for a shorter period and get the result, but to know how. And so I had to work on myself and understand the truth behind whatever is happening in this world. So when I started listening to Rameshji, every single night for hour and a half, I would just walk in the house and keep on listening. So wanted to make grooves in my mind that every single time any disturbance happen, it would remind me that this is the ego. Only ego can disturb me. So how do I make this life like a life mantra? What do I do that it stays with me forever? Do I just have to keep listening, keep understanding, keep applying? What is the shorter way or faster way to get what I want, which is peace?
The shortest way, I'll tell you, is to forget wanting it and allow the teaching to do its job. How? Let's take a simple situation so that it's not too abstract. Tomorrow someone upsets me. And I just sit in the evening with my tea or coffee or whatever, and I realize that this person said and did precisely what they were meant to.
Yeah, but I have to remember they were meant to.
All I am saying is just sit in the evening for 10 minutes and review the events in the day.
Yes.
What happens is when you start seeing the same events through this lens now, it is fresh conditioning. As you said, the grooves of the brain are being re-inscribed.
Yes.
That is what any fresh conditioning does. It overlays the old conditioning. But the ego wants to do it fast. You see, it wants to control that also, because it cannot live without this control. But soon you will find that you have started witnessing events and people in your lives through this perspective.
Yes.
That means the teaching is already doing its job, doesn't need your help. It means when you are no longer polarized, your left and right brain are coming into balance on their own. Because when my thinking mind is no longer as active doing the dance of Nataraja like it used to, it is coming into balance. When I am abiding in being and living in the moment, my right brain is flourishing. So the balance is happening thanks to the teaching. It doesn't need your help, though it may appear like that, because you see, the ego has got a new taste of peace, which it didn't have before. So he wants more. I want it fast. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? It doesn't need that much of your help. Allow it to happen. Can you blame and hate now the dressmaker?
No.
Dressmaker was troubling you, the decorator was troubling you, if I remember correctly. Now what do you think about them?
All is well. And everything is done so smoothly, so smoothly.
Yeah, two things were not meant to work out 100%. The decorator didn't deliver the goods. I tried my best to explain to him. Maybe he tried his best and it was not good enough for me, or he didn't try his best. I don't know. That is the situation. But now I see that in this wedding, where by and large everything went well, two relationships didn't turn out the way I had hoped. And when I accept that was the will of God, so be it.
Yeah.
I may inform the decorator that, look, my suggestion is please don't do this with someone else, because it can be a very painful experience for a mother organizing the wedding of a son. And I know it because I've been through it. So I would request you to be careful. So you express yourself, but when you find that you are no longer training your guns on the decorator, on the dressmaker, and saying, I hate you for not giving your best and doing a good job. When that is not happening, you are at peace.
Yeah.
You express yourself. It didn't work out. I paid whatever they asked for. They didn't give me what they said they would give me. Such was the will of God.
Yeah.
So disappointment for sure. We are human beings. Pain in the moment, for sure. We are human beings. But no hatred and malice.
Yeah, definitely. And it wasn't there.
That's it.
Yeah.
Whereas earlier, you'd make life hell for them. Now that need does not arise.
And even if I would not make my life hell, but I mean their life hell, but I would suffer so much emotionally unnecessarily.
Yeah, that I could not give the best dress to the bridegroom. I could not get, you see that pressure.
Yeah.
I.
Yeah, so true, so true, so true. Yeah, but then...
Anyway, your son is happy.
Yeah,
Everyone is happy.
Everyone is happy. Everyone is happy. Life can be
happily married.
Yes.
There was a book which was happily unmarried.
It's a tautology.
Yes,
It's good. Please share our best wishes to your
we'll do.
son and daughter-in-law.
Sure, we'll do.
So for like 20 years, I was stuck in a constant chatter of being judged, and
How old are you?
like I'm 21, 22.
So for 20 out of 22 years, you were stuck in the chatter of being judged. You were born with a very high degree of awareness. What is your name?
As I can remember, Harshvardhan.
Harshvardhan. You're from Bombay?
No, I'm from Nanded.
Nanded. Okay.
So like I born in an environment where I was judged when I was younger, and those 2-3 events made me feel like everyone is judging, and that made me judge myself in a way that I won't be judged by someone else.
Sure.
Like I want to be in a way that someone else cannot judge me, and that made me overthink everything, and eventually it turned out in a way that like every step I took, I thought 10 things that if I took this, what would happen, and that made me extremely miserable. Like a lot of times I was unaware what is happening, why am I getting so tensed, and why am I not able to do or decide extremely stupid things. Like for other people they were instinctive, and I needed to think it, and even after analyzing it I was like, what would I do if even if I did not think, what would be my decision in that instant? So there would be like no answer, I don't know what might happen, and like that made me think too much about it. And recently, in a span of like 2-3 months, eventually I realized a lot of things that I should not like judge myself, and I shouldn't. Ignorance is bliss. Like I realized that statement, that how ignorance is blissful for life. And once I realized that, I said, okay, let's try this. Let's ignore everything. Let event happen in a way that they want to. What might happen, like I might fail extremely miserably, but I cannot go down more than this. So I said, okay, let's try that. And eventually the answer came to me automatically. And I said, okay, this is nice. And still after that, I started overthinking, okay, what should I do next? And I said, let's write it out. Whatever I have come to, I have come in statement with it, that okay, these are the things I need to do, or these are the way it needs to be done. So I said, let's write those down, and other things will come in its way. Okay. So when I started writing those things, the other things became more clearer. And right now, in a span of like 10 days, 15 days, I am at like so much peace that I have understood what my life, how I want my life to be. I don't want to think about being judged. I want to have a blissful life, at the same time have a materialistic lifestyle. Like I want to live a luxury as well as not being judged. Okay, so if you are judging me, it's your problem. I'll live my life how I want to. And like I've also understood one thing, that okay, you would come to a standard and then live a blissful life. Like you are living miserable life and you are saying, okay, you judge how you want to and I won't think about it. But now I've come to a mindset that okay, this is a really peaceful life that I would want myself to be. And I was in influence about my friends as well. Like one of the friends, he's doing really great than anyone in my generation, you can say. So he's one of them that is doing really interesting thing that nobody commonly does. So I said, yeah, I was trying to catch up to him in a way. So I said 1 or 2 years I might catch up to him, 5 years maybe. But in chasing him, I was making myself miserable. I was ignoring what I wanted, how what kind of life I wanted. And that made me realize, okay, I don't want that. I don't want the kind of life he is chasing, the kind of life he wants to achieve. The things that make me peaceful, the things that want myself, like I want them to be that way, they are a lot different. I don't need to run the way he wants to run. I can walk and I can have the peaceful breeze for myself. I can just uh, look at the sun and be happy with myself. I understood the meaning behind, difference behind being alone and being lonely. So being alone is like blissful with yourself, and being lonely is in a misery. So that's what I learned in these maybe 6 months, made me realize from a lot of misery to a lot of bliss in whatever I'm doing.
It's beautiful. Actually, everyone has gone through what you have about being judged since childhood. We all have been judged. You see how it happens. It's very simple. Supposing a child is running around the house, okay, and the parents are rich. So the parents have very expensive curios lying all over the house, and the child hits one and it falls to the ground. And a parent is there while it happens and scolds the child. What are you doing running in the house? How clumsy of you. Such an expensive thing has broken. So the child, which was pure spontaneity, is now accused of doing something which makes the parent upset. So the child is judged. This is how this whole phenomenon of judgment comes upon the ego. Then the child feels, I am going to be judged for each and every action of mine. This is how the ego takes shape from childhood. And then I should not be judged a certain way, people should love me, and all those dynamics come. So it is everyone's story. You've spoken on behalf of everyone. But ignorance may appear to be bliss, but ignorance is darkness. Gyan is light, it's knowledge. When we see why people judge and what is the basis, we get an understanding of the ego. It is that understanding which brings me peace. Otherwise, I'm brushing it aside. It is misery masquerading as bliss. But when I really see that, oh, now I understand why people judge, why I judge. Now I can see the whole dynamics, the mechanics of the birth of the ego, the formation of the ego, how it works. Then, when I have nobody to blame, neither others nor myself, and therefore I have nobody to judge, neither others nor myself, then I rest in the bliss of peace. That is what happens. When I realize I may have certain material goals, like you were mentioning, let's say an aspiration because a friend reached a certain height. I may want to aspire to do that. There's nothing wrong in that. I don't have to judge myself for that. Then I may recalibrate and say, no, I don't think it's a realistic level. So this is what I am comfortable with. That's a recalibration. But you see, this issue of judgment must be understood in the light of knowledge, because then it is no longer about ignorance is bliss. Knowledge is the bliss of peace, which gives sukha shanti. Sukha shanti means the happiness of peace.
So yeah, I got it, and I've thought about that in a way that I'm not ignoring in a way. I want to understand it. I want to read and I want to learn a lot of things, and then okay, so if those things apply to me, does it really matter the words that the other person is saying? Is that the truth about what's happening, or it's just his perspective and it's not working with your lifestyle?
Exactly.
So if it does not, so you can ignore it.
So what is the truth then in that case? There is only one truth. There is only one truth. What is the truth? The truth is that which nobody can deny. If you go to Europe and introduce yourself as Harshvardhan, a foreigner may say, you're saying it, I don't know if that's your name, you could say you're anything. Right? So what is that truth which nobody can deny? Which means, supposing you're lying in bed and the doctor says, I'm going to press a button now and your entire memory will be wiped out. Entire memory is finished. You don't know mother, father, brother, sister, nothing. And I ask you as the doctor, do you exist? You say, yes, I exist. You cannot deny your existence. Everything else can be denied. That is the only truth. The impersonal awareness of being is the only truth. The impersonal awareness of being. I know I exist. Beyond that is a concept. What my parents taught me, the religion I was born into, the money I have, all conceptual. People told me certain things My school teachers shaped my mind, all conceptual. The only truth is the impersonal awareness of being. And when I understand people, when I understand human nature, issues of judgment, I see that I am resting more and more in the impersonal awareness of being. So when I don't take things personally anymore in that sense, that he is doing this to me, when I don't take delivery of that dimension, I am resting in being. So simple.
Namaste Guruji. I am Rahul, and I've read Maharaj and Maharishi, so had few questions on them. So actually there are three parts of the question. Like I'll keep it short.
I may not be qualified to answer them. I'll try.
Okay. So in when I read about like explanation by Maharaj regarding the transitoriness of the world and the fullness of the main state, like what we talk about, Brahman. So I get to know when I think and I said personally, I get to know that yes, the transitoriness is there inside the world, inside the body. Then about deep sleep, that it is more permanent and more peaceful. Then about death, that it is more permanent as you were speaking about it. So yes, I am not this, I am that. So it is like I think of it as an example of a fruit where I have kept it and it is becoming bad and it goes away. It mixes with the soil. So I think of myself as I am also in a way like that. So when I'm thinking about it, it is there in my mind that I am that way. I am not permanent, I am transitory. But when I'm thinking about it, that time only. But when I engage with the world, like I start talking to people, I start talking to my mom, I kind of forget about it. And when I travel in the train, if nudges come and if it is too crowded, I lose it, the control. So this happens. So this is first part, Guruji.
So let's just take this part. Why does this happen? Because conditioning is hardwired. It's going to take time. It's going to take time. This action reaction is what I've been doing since I was a young child. Then there's the dawn of awareness of a spiritual dimension, or whatever you may call it, the wisdom teachings. That fresh conditioning is going to take time to set in. So what will happen is, tomorrow I'm nudged in a train, I'll still react. But I will find that beyond that, I'm not involved. Earlier, I was carrying the story in my head. I would start really giving it hell to the person who nudged me, extended in the duration of time. So I was creating suffering for the other and myself beyond the original event. Now I find that my involvement in the event starts subsiding. So there'll still be a natural reaction based on my past conditioning, but I find it gets cut off. That is how it works. See, this is not about leading a perfect life or Buddhahood state where I will not react. It's not possible. But when I am no longer involved in the reaction and stretching it and creating hell for others and myself, then I know that my thinking and my perspective has changed. Just the other day, someone came who mentioned that for the first time in their lives, he said he saw his mother and father as not his parents, but who they were as individuals, woman and man. And he said, I felt that was the first time in my life I totally met them. Because we are seeing everyone through our filters of conditioning. And when we put that aside is when we totally meet the other person.
But one thing I wanted to ask, like my kids, if they are eating unhealthy, then some tension comes that I
Of
should
course,
control them. Or
of course. Now
something
that
like
is a parent-child relationship.
So
You will do precisely that which you feel is right for the child, because the parent is the child's first guru. But your whole approach will be slightly different, because you are now not considering the child as a doer of its actions. You will realize this is the nature of the child. So your whole dimension shifts. You know, it is a known fact how parents dump all their conditioning into the kids. You no longer dump your conditioning now in that sense, because there's a degree of awareness. So you're not forcing your views on a child about something, you're not pushing your story all the time. You're keeping that openness so the child can bloom and flourish, is allowed its own way to think, because you no longer feel your way is the only way. So obviously as a parent, you know what's good. Unhealthy food is unhealthy food. And the child is going to keep asking for it, because you're going to keep telling the child not to eat it, because that is the nature of the ego. So you're more aware of this game now. And the way you approach it changes.
And in that case, I believe the doership responsibility is with the parent and not the child.
Of course, because the child is child consciousness. It is the consciousness which is being shaped. That is also what happens when there's unconscious parenting. The child suffers.
Is that the same relationship between a guru and a shishya?
No. The guru-shishya relationship is not of this world in that sense. You see, it appears that there's a form of a guru and a form of a disciple, because we are in the realm of appearances. The guru is the shishya's own higher self. So what happens? It's very simple. Let's say any one guru really appeals to me. What he says, I think this person has said something which appeals to me. Actually, this is the truth within me which has appealed to me, which I have heard someone say. So the higher self projects itself onto the form of a guru, calls it a guru, and is listening back to itself. That is what is happening. That is why they say the guru is within, the Sadguru is within. Obviously, the Sadguru is within. So in the realm of form, something really touches my heart. That one thing has really hit home. Someone says, wow, peace of mind is the only thing, or whatever it may be. This really hit me. Now the mind starts processing, analyzing, oh, who am I, I must see how to implement it. That is all the mind trying to figure the whole thing out. But the arrow has already been shot. Then the mind will say, is this person my guru? Is this person not my guru? Arey, I'm not going into Nirvikalp Samadhi, so can't be my guru. This experience is not happening and all. The job is already done. So the guru-disciple relationship is not in that sense a Rinanubandhan, karmic bound relationship like parent, child, sibling or friends. It is my relationship with myself.
So consciousness is saying and consciousness is listening.
That is with everyone.
No, but in guru-shishya relationship. So whatever I need to listen, guru is just saying.
That is with everyone. But
Physical.
what is surrender to the guru? A total acceptance that what the guru is saying is for my own benefit and the highest teaching. If I start picking and choosing stuff of the guru which I like and which I don't like, that person is not my guru. I'm fooling myself.
Is the designation important? Designate someone as somebody's guru?
In a sense, yes. In a sense, yes. You see, the problem is the conditioning which has come around the word guru now. But guru actually means the giver of light. the remover of darkness. There are many meanings to the word guru, so it is important in that sense. You see, because what is the role of the guru? To see that the shishya does not get lost and stuck in the quicksand of life, and to pull the shishya out of that. That is the only role you could say. There's no other role. You're not going to go to the guru for material benefits and for all those issues. So he or she is playing this role of light, the light of consciousness, showing you things not the way you've seen them before, but the way they are. That is the role of the guru. So it's a very different dynamic. The guru-disciple relationship is primarily one appearing as two, and it is not bound in that sense of rinanubandhan. It is not a bondage of a relationship. Rinanubandhan means the bondage of rin, bandhan. All our relationships are rinanubandhan. We are in bondage. The guru is not a bondage. The guru is that principle which releases us from the bondage of relationships, which is considering people are the doers of their actions.
My major investment in spirituality is my psychological suffering. For a major part of my life, I have been battling with anxiety issues. And before almost 6 or 7 years back, I decided that this has to be figured out, that there has to be a solution to this. So I started meeting. There was a parallel track of spiritual pursuit. There was a parallel track of psychology, modern psychology, therapists, psychologists, etc. Met counselors, therapists. And finally, I realized that I should stop figuring it out. And I got introduced to, through modern psychology, I got introduced to cognitive behavioral therapy, where you are required to accept anxiety, where you are required to accept your stress and not enter a conflict with it. You are required to expose yourself to anxiety spikes so that it gets habituated, and slowly the brain stops sending you those anxiety signals. So acceptance of anxiety slowly started coming. I no longer wanted to resolve the anxiety. What made me really interested in your teachings was that it was exactly the same. Absolute acceptance of God's will, no longer you are worried about the sense of doership. And I started realizing that there are absolute similarities between modern psychology and a spiritual pursuit.
I do also believe they are very close, much closer than one would expect them to be.
The one area which I am still baffled is, given the context of the absence of free will, what should one do in one's life? Because the concept of passion, the concept of problem solving, the concept of making world a better place, everything crumbles down in this light. So is there a point in identifying one's passion, in identifying a line of work which is going to give you a higher satisfaction, or we should just live with the life, go with the flow?
No, one must have clarity. What am I passionate about? And function according to one's nature. So if by nature I'm passionate, but now I know it doesn't guarantee me results. I'm passionate about painting. Doesn't mean I'll sell the paintings for a high price. Right? But I'm clear about my passion. It doesn't mean I should lose passion about painting. So what are my natural inclinations? Which is why Krishna tells Arjuna, if your whole life you've been trained as a warrior, you belong to the warrior caste, your whole conditioning is that of a warrior, your natural inclination is to fight. It's your natural inclination. So what happens with the understanding is you become more passionate because you're free of the burden of the consequence of the passion. That is why they say the sage is a mahabhogi, a super enjoyer, because he's fully there. He's not lost in the dead past or an imaginary future. His mind has not overridden things like ours does. So it does not take away the passion out of life. It appears like that because you're being told it's free will is just left to a mechanics, it's not yours. You may or may not get what you want, which is what the Gita says. The Bible says the same thing, thy will be done. It's all the same. So the ego feels like, what the hell am I doing here if my will can't be done? It feels defeated. And in that is the victory. In that realization is the victory.
You're free, right?
You're free of it. Now, anxiety, depression, in some instances, it's a chemical imbalance. That's a very different thing. If that is not there, then one can talk about it. One can investigate. What is it based on? I found that these teachings of Advaita specifically delivered peace of mind in daily living through the most challenging of situations, circumstances, and with people. I really found, I would use the phrase, the guru's job is take you home to the source. So someone said, oh, there's no such thing, everything is happening, the source is here, this, that. See, the ego loves to criticize. But my point is that peace, which is the absence of anxiety, is where the guru, which is not a person but consciousness, is resting. But because of the veil of doership, illusion, maya, it has lost sight of that. That consciousness of Bal Krishna, the child consciousness, which did not have the stain of the ego with its sense of doership, is right here, right now. Otherwise, we'd be dead. That consciousness is here, got colored by these filters. And this process is a removal of these filters to see things as they are. So let's say I'm a timid personality. I get scared easily. Now I know I'm designed that way. Now I know it. So it doesn't mean I won't get anxious. Fear will arise. Let it arise. I witness it. I have a friend in whom the fear may not arise because he's built differently. It doesn't arise in his case. So be it. So the more and more witnessing that starts happening, the more and more I am at peace.
So does this witnessing and witnessing helps you to dissolve your ego completely?
Witnessing cannot be done. It happens. Though and more you realize that this sense of doership is the sham, the more and more you slip into witnessing.
You said now witnessing your fear.
Because as he said, what is anxiety? Fear arises and I get so wrapped up in the fear and get involved in that story and then I'm lost in the fear. Now I witness it arise.
The fear still exists.
It will exist and dissolve when it is meant to dissolve.
As I progressed in this therapy, I just wanted to make this comment.
That's for the recording.
So the same, what is dissolving? The ego only, right?
The sense of doership. The ego still has to function in life. The sense of doership is just. So the dialogue which was earlier, I am so afraid, will change to fear is arising. There's a big difference. I no longer take ownership of it. Fear is arising. Yeah, totally. Chatter gets annihilated.
Personal experience, I could see that the reason still exists. If I have a health anxiety, the health trouble still exists. If I have a sleep challenge, it still exists. But my anxious mind is less prevalent.
Yes. Then you leave the anxiety alone. It is there. You stay there now. I'm going away. I'm not asking you to go away. I'm going away. I'm not taking ownership of it. I know it sounds easier than said than done, but that's what starts happening.
You're retraining your brain to accept anything.
It appears like that. You know, one could say it in a poetic way. When we were children, we were living in the heart. And then that shifted to the mind. And this is the journey back to the heart. And what is the heart? Not a physical heart, but the heart of awareness, the heart of consciousness. Not split into the polar opposites. The child does not say, oh, this guy is ugly, this guy is pretty. He has no judgment mechanics in place. Accepts, embraces everyone. That is the nature of consciousness. In that sense.
Why do you say that it appears? Are we not rewiring the system to be more acceptant, or is that also
We are undoing the entangled wiring in that sense. So it's just words. You could say rewiring, undoing the entanglements. But we are taking and stepping more and more back into being. Well, do come back.
May I ask the question? Already we are beyond time.
We are, but can you come again? Or is this?
No, I won't be able to. I will be moving. So the question is, can practicing acceptance lead us to understanding and seeing? As in this talk, we are repeating the words acceptance and practicing. Because and you are practicing the non-duality, or you are living the non-duality. Because for last few years, I am reading these three. Recently, I started reading Nisargadatta Maharaj and Ramana Maharshi, and those things went into my head into bits and pieces. I understood those things and realized that the conscious mind is started living things in parts and parts, but unconscious and subconscious mind is yet to settle it down. Because when I see that uncertainty is life, I accepted it consciously. But the subconscious mind was fighting with that. And I had headache for 24 hours almost in last 2 weeks. Because the turmoil was going on in my head to accept it, that non-duality as well as the uncertainty. So can that thing, the practicing, the acceptance lead us to the seeing?
Of course it can. It cannot guarantee it because that depends on your destiny. But of course it can. Because what are you practicing? You're practicing a new way of seeing. Now the gateway to the subconscious mind is the conscious mind itself. So what you feed into the conscious mind is what goes into the subconscious mind.
But it will take a long time.
Maybe. We don't know. All we can do is try. But we lose sight of one fact. As my teacher would say, don't consider your glass half empty, consider it half full. Because if God has brought you till this stage, why is He going to leave you here? This much though He's done, na? But then the ego feels, now again I'm in control. I must reach the end. I must do this. I must do that. I must practice. Then I see, all right, this is how the ego is functioning. Yet I do that which I think I should do. In this case, it is practice. I do it. And if I enjoy it, why not? If it's a punishment, maybe I should stop it. So there's no harm in the practice at all. Because obviously something has appealed to you, so you want to implement it to make it the default setting. So you're going to practice it. But with this caveat that your practice cannot guarantee the results. So you're no longer obsessed with this need to practice and punish yourself if that is happening. You are going with the flow now. It's a journey. That is why Maharaj would say the road is the goal. The goal is not the goal there. The practice itself becomes the goal. Not to get somewhere. It's really beautiful, actually. It's really beautiful. There's no reason to be discouraged. As Hafiz, I think I wrote it in one of my books. I think it was Hafiz. Ever since happiness heard your name, it has been running through the streets trying to find you. Repeat it. Ever since happiness heard your name, it has been running through the streets trying to find you. Hard to believe. Hard to believe. The problem is we've been looking for it in the wrong direction. If we just stop, it's going to find us. We have been looking for happiness in people and things. When we correct this thinking, or rather when this thinking is corrected, is happiness. Human birth is rare. It's such a pity that it's spent with all this anxiety and stress and hating each other. It's a rare thing to be gifted a human birth. And we spend it making lives miserable for others and us. One of the only species which is gifted a vertical spine. The gift of heaven and earth is that. Earth is the Muladhara, heaven is the Sahasrara Chakra. Big responsibility was placed on us as a species.